way of living seems to be too much for you. I know you don't understand the things I do. I just hope you know who you're talking to.
Well, it's good, son. Branches are tore up. What a gorgeous spot. I won't talk long. Ohio was not a bust, but it whooped our butts. As you see or can see on the video, I just didn't have no luck with the buck aspect. But anyways, I've not had time to do much as far as prep work and stuff, honestly. I got a camera stall on my own farm. I just feel way behind as far as getting stuff prepped and spots ready. And I currently don't have anything on camera at any of my spots that I want to hunt and shoot. So I'm like I've done several years in a row, I'm just hoping and praying that my historically proven rut spots pay off and that they'll produce. So I had to work out of town today. A new place that I've got was not far from there, so came out here and put some corn out, and I've been getting some smaller bucks that are starting to cruise a little bit. So anyway, spruced up this spot, and we'll see what happens. There's the old killing tree, and there's the old bait pile up here. So anyways, y'all stick with us. We'll be hitting it really, really hard. Gosh, starting this weekend and going all the way until something happens. So, anywho, we'll get back at y'all from the woods here shortly. So this is super last second. Leara had to go to U of L this morning for school. I've not slept good the last few nights, so she got up at, excuse me, 5 o'clock. So I've been up, and I thought to myself, might as well go deer hunting. So I'm gonna go sit in the same spot where that guy got killed, and we'll see what happens. It's a place that they've logged that I've not hunted because it's been so thick in literally years. I've not sat down there and hunted in a long time. So I'm just gonna go sit, see what happens. I've got no intel down there except cattle getting out and some does. No shooter bucks at all. But again, they come through there. So I'm gonna go sit it. We'll get to y'all from the woods here in a little bit. Here's my cue to get out. Jump a young 4-point. Done some scouting. I've got no deer movement here like usual. Anyways, probably shouldn't be scouting at this hour, but that's about the only choice I got. So, jumped him. I'm getting ready to get out of here. Get back to work. It's funny. I can see through the woods about 150 yards. The other spot across the creek that I hunt. And I couldn't see what it was or how many, but several deer over in front of my blind this morning on that side. So that's the way it goes. My main goal is to see how the deer move where I was set up. And it was unsuccessful, so we'll just keep on studying it until we figure it out. I know Dave's getting in the woods this evening. I don't have time, but I may make time. It feels pretty good, so. Anyways, it's ramping up here in Kentucky, so y'all just hanging there with us. we're going to put something on the ground.
All right, everybody, back at it again. It is Saturday, October 29th. Matt and I got out to the farm early this morning, probably a good hour and a half before sunup. I hiked into that tower blind that overlooks that food plot, and Matt went down to the pinch that he's been hunting on the other side of the farm, and he's seen a couple of doe. And then right at sunup, I saw a doe. It's not even sunup, it's like that gray light where you can just start seeing things through the binocs. And seen a nice 8-point, and he was with a doe, and they kind of crest the hill and went down over towards the pond bottom. And then didn't see anything for a little while, and about 8:45, the action picked up. Heard some rustling around over in the woods across from me, and then boom, here come all the deer. And there was like 6 or 7 doe that came out, and then a little 4-point buck kind of chased them around the field. He'd come up out of that bottom, so I'm assuming they were getting ready to bed down in there, and he got in there and bumped them all around. But they got out in the field. He kind of scent checked them all, and then he wandered off back down in the woods where he came from. The deer kind of stood around grazing out in the field, and then a big nanny doe came out into the field and almost like rounded up all those deer, and they went right back in where they came from. That 4-point walked around and then came back up into the food plot on the far end where the feeder's at. And he ate a little bit and he headed off. He kept looking back in the woods constantly, and I'm wondering if there wasn't a bigger buck with him. But either way, we had a good morning. I thought on Thursday that I made a closing interview out when I was on public land, but I guess I double tapped the recorder and didn't get that interview. So just to kind of recap that hunt, had a really good sit. Went into an old food plot area on public land, and found a good tree on back around the bend of that food plot. So I had all these trees and everything to my left, about 100 yards back, and climbed up in a tree with that XOP system, which again, guys, I'm really, when I'm down in the woods or if I want to get in a tree, like that's my go-to now. But climbed up in that tree, got all settled in, and about an hour later, after getting settled in, I saw deer coming from where I came from through the branches and trees, and had 2 doe walk 16 yards in front of me, perfect broadside shots, but I could see there were 2 more deer, at least 2 more deer back towards the road of the way I came in, and didn't know if one of them were a buck, so I didn't want to mess up the hunt and clear the field. So they actually wound up going the other way, and then those deer went across from me and went in the woods. So anytime I see deer on public land, it's a good hunt, but I did not confirm that I saw a buck. So, and obviously didn't feel a tag. But Thursday was good. Friday, yesterday, went out and field feeders, put out corn, pulled cards, everything out on the farm, and starting to get a lot of buck action moving again. And then I checked that camera on my way in this morning that's closest to me that I passed, and I pulled that, and it was a freaking buck parade last night, guys. All last night from early this morning all the way up to when I was walking in. I have a picture of a little buck at 6:30 something, 6:32 I think it was, when I was walking in, that I must have bumped out of there and never even heard him. And that might have been the same 4-point. I have to go back and look at that picture, but it might be the same one that came out and pushed all those doe around. And either way, good morning this morning. This afternoon we're headed back in. Just came home, grabbed a bite to eat. Did some maintenance on the bow, make sure everything's tight. Put my bow wax on the string, got everything done, and then we're hiking back in. I'm taking the decoy tonight. I'm taking the Tank's trophy buck with me, and I'm gonna douse that on the back end of that decoy. And then I got a bag of corn smack I'm gonna put about 30 yards from that decoy. So I'm just gonna lay that field out tonight, and then I'm gonna do a little rattling and some grunt sequences and see if I can't pull one of these bucks out of this holler. But I know they're there. The big 8-point showed back up last night. The 6-point. So I have a 6-point. I have 3 years of history with this deer, and on the 26th, I got a picture of that deer on the other side of the farm, and 2 hours later, I got a picture of what I thought was that deer over where I'm hunting at today, by that feeder, and it was missing its right side. And I'm like, oh my gosh, in a 2-hour time period from there, that camera to this camera, that buck has done gotten a fight and lost his entire antler, until today. And when I pulled that card, the 6-point still is a 6-point. He has both sides. So I have another buck that showed up that looks the same, but he only has that one left side. So the bucks are starting to move. That's what this property is all about, guys. That's why it gets so frustrating, because I'll have good bucks in the spring. I'll watch them go up through August, and then they start disappearing. And then some of them will start coming back now, like the 8-point. The 6 has been around for a couple weeks now. But then right about now is whenever the 10s and the 12 start showing back up. I think the 12's been there one time. I had one sketchy photo that I'm almost positive it was him. But it's only intel that I have that he was on the farm. So I think he's still alive. I think he's still there, and just really wanting to be in the stand when he makes his appearance on my farm. So, guys, I'm headed back out. Matt's headed back out. Like I said, we just took a little break here. I wanted to come home, get the decoy, some things like that to really set the stage tonight to hopefully pull one of these big bucks out of that holler. So stay tuned. Well, that was a bust. I mean, I don't want to say it was a bust, but I will say this. The doe did not like that buck decoy. Had a doe come in early, far right. I think she was more like a yearling, but about the time I saw her, she was just frozen, dead-eyeing that decoy. And then she turned around, went back where she came from. And then probably about 5:30, right around 6, I did some rattling, did some grunting. And shortly after that, I seen 3 doe right across from me in the wood line, and all 3 of them were standing at different places in the wood line, just eyeballing that decoy. And they did the same thing, turned around, went right back down the woods. And then whenever that happened, I heard a ton of deer. I don't know how many it was, but I could just hear them all going down that hillside that I couldn't see. So that didn't work, but I am confident that if a buck saw that decoy, they probably would have come in and investigated and have been in the game. But last night, it was the buck parade all night long, but they weren't moving, and that was the lower part of the farm, but they didn't start moving or hitting those cameras until right at dark and then thereafter. But didn't see anything on the way out, didn't bump any deer today, so that's another good thing is, I haven't put a lot of pressure on this farm this year, so I'm not really giving the deer an idea that, hey, we're being hunted. So, plus, it's starting to ramp up. So next weekend is Matt and I's quota hunt, archery. And then the following weekend is opening weekend in Kentucky with modern gun. The following weekend after that is our quota hunt gun on public. And then that's the next 2 weekends. So it's going to be an action-packed rest of this series here. We've got a lot of buck tags, a lot of deer tags to fill, a lot of public land hunting to do, and then, of course, our statewide. But all in all, guys, I'm exhausted. Other than 2-hour break that we took, we ran out, went and got something to eat, came home, did some work on the bow, just make sure I had, it's a new bow, so wanted to make sure I waxed that string really good again. Got that done and just tightened everything up, shot it a couple times, make sure I was still dialed in, and then headed right back out. So I was back in the field, or in the blind, in the tower blind, set up by 2 o'clock. So from 2 o'clock until whatever time we came out, 7:30, then I had to go pull the decoy and get all my gear and everything from being up there all day. But long day, guys. Unfortunately, it wasn't that action-packed. But again, I told you at the beginning of this season, I'm going to show you the good, the bad, and the ugly of our 2022 season here. And it hasn't been too great, but the bucks are starting to move. I always get a little frustrated this time of year because I just don't get a lot of intel on big bucks on my farm. But for whatever reason, I don't know why, after 15 years of hunting out there, the bucks don't typically show up there until this week or next week. So they're coming. The big 8's back. The big 6 is back. I got a bunch of intel on deer I've never seen before, and that's just going to keep trickling. The 2 I'm looking for, 3. I got 2 big 10s and a 12-point out there. Last year they were there this time. That right about this time is when they showed up, and then, of course, they stayed through the rut. But we weren't hunting that farm last year. We were focused out at the drop zone, which, of course, we don't have access to this year. But anyway, fingers crossed that those deer are still around. Like I said, I think I've got a sketchy picture of that 12-point about 3 weeks ago, just randomly. Pretty positive that was that deer, but I haven't got any pictures since. So hopefully they'll make it back, and or if nothing else, something else shows up. That's the thing about this farm that I love. We kill monster deer out there every year, and most of the time don't even have a lot of intel on them. But anyway, guys, I'm exhausted. Dinner's ready. My wife's already mad. I'm going to get off here. Signing off, but until next time, wake up and hunt.
Late nights away while they're stuck at home. Leaves them laying away, worried blowing up your phone. Ain't an easy life for anyone. But at the start, it's just so fresh and fun. Sooner or later, they all open up their eyes. They can't do it no more. It's what they realize. Yeah, that's what